Hey, today we're going to talk about the Cask of the Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe. And as you probably figured out from the story centers around revenge, the revenge of Montresor on Fortunato for this idea of a public insult or crossing the line into this kind of idea of unforgivable shaming of him. And so what I think Poe is doing here is just establishing the idea of what is revenge? What is the method of revenge? How is revenge taken out on another person so that it may be fully recognized in the person who wishes the revenge, right? So revenge must be done in a certain way for it to be authentic. So let's read through the three kind of ways that Montresor envisions revenge as being successfully carried out. So I'll just read from the story and we'll talk about each one individually. So he begins on page 618. At length I would be avenged. This was the point definitively settled, but the very definitiveness with which it was resolved precluded the idea of risk. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. Okay, so he's saying here that the idea of revenge, for revenge to be effective or for revenge to be carried out in a way that is authentic to the person who wants the revenge, that the revenge must be done with impunity. So if you want revenge on someone, you can't go get revenge and then that person is able to, like call the police and then have you arrested, because then you really haven't gotten your revenge because you've been punished for the crime. So you need a method of revenge that prevents you from being again kind of attacked by this person. So that point is very important. All right, so moving on to the second point now. A wrong is unredressed when retribution overtakes its redresser. So here, it's a little bit more vague, right? A wrong is unredressed if retribution overtakes its redresser, right? So this idea of, I think it's really guilt is what he's talking about here. Can you perform this idea of revenge if you feel guilty, right? For example, if someone does you wrong, it's very easy to kind of fantasize ways of getting back at them or wanting revenge on them, right? But very few of us ever actually do it. It's much easier to kind of do in the mind rather than to go out and to physically take revenge on this person. And one reason is because of guilt. You can't simply act in a way that is beyond a moral boundary that you yourself have established for your own life. And kind of recognizing this fact in the act of revenge is something that's really important, because what happens then if someone wronged you and then you go back and you take revenge on them and then you continually punish yourself for becoming like them or doing something that you felt was beyond your moral limits or something like that, then the revenge has been worse than the initial act of punishment, right? Because now you can't take revenge on yourself, on your own guilt. You can't simply assuage this feeling that you have. So that needs to be at least a part of revenge, knowing that you can do this and go home and sleep well at night. And so that's something that also needs to be thought about real carefully as well. And so the third thing he says is this. It is equally unredressed when the avenger fails to make himself felt as such to him who has done the wrong, right? So the last act is, okay, if you get revenge on someone, then what if they don't know it was you, right? If someone does you wrong to you and you go back and you wrong them, but they don't know it was you. They know that something was done, of course, and they feel this kind of sting, but they don't know it was you. And here Edgar Allan Poe is saying that through Montresor that is equally as, I guess, a definition of revenge, right? So definition of revenge is that the guy must feel it, right? So here Fortunato must feel this revenge, right? And then Montresor must carry out this revenge in a way in which he does not feel guilty about it, right? And so let's examine quickly, are those last two, are they done in the story? So this idea of Fortunato has to kind of know Montresor is doing it. And I think we can make a clear case that he does. You know, he's being bricked up and chained in this kind of deep catacomb. But if we look at it more closely, Fortunato he's quite intoxicated when he goes down there. He's not really sure of what's going on. He thinks it's a joke for quite some time. And then only at the very end, when he's saying, you know, for the love of God, Montresor, and then Montresor says, yes, for the love of God. And we see that he does understand this idea that, yes, the revenge is being carried out for Montresor. He is avenging something that I have done to him. But does that really fulfill this kind of whole obligation of revenge, right? Because it's just for a short time. And I do see the argument. So let's put both sides of the argument. First side of the argument is, no, he doesn't. It is better for the person to kind of know that they've been gotten or have been, you know, revenged, you know, in perpetuity, or live with this idea that someone has gotten revenge on you. And he clearly doesn't live for that long. No water, or, you know, no food, and dark, dank catacomb. He's probably not going to last that long. So is that true revenge, right? Or is that just almost just like murder, where the person obviously doesn't know, you know, can't live with the knowledge that you've got revenge on them? And then, so this other idea too, that the person, the avenger, must not feel guilty, right? They don't carry with them this sense of guilt. And so, do we see that? At the very end of the story, we see Montresor saying that, you know, he feels a chill, right? And but not from the catacombs. You know, you see that little hyphen there when he says, but not from the catacombs. And you know, I personally kind of see that as ambiguous, that the author is saying that, well, I'm saying that I don't feel it, you know, but I'm stating it in a way. I'm, you know, putting this hyphen in there, kind of like this pause. I'm pausing, kind of, you know, am I telling the truth? Am I saying that I don't feel it because I don't feel it, or am I saying I don't feel it because I want to seem, you know, very hard, like hard as nails, and no one's going to get to me, and, you know, no, I don't feel this, and I'm very strong. And so that's kind of ambiguous. And at the very end, he says, you know, that you know, I haven't thought about him for I believe it's 50 years, right? So just kind of again referencing, you know, oh yeah, no, and again, I haven't even thought about him in 50 years, but yet he's telling the story, right? So how can that be reconciled, right? How could he be, you know, telling the story, yes, but yet not have really considered it? Well, it seems to have been waiting on his mind if he's going to be telling the story, you know, and then yet not ever thinking about it. How can that be? You know, it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't seem to logically make sense. And then he ends with a Latin phrase, you know, may he rest in peace. So this idea that after he has died, that you know, that he hopes that he is, you know, that he is happy in this afterlife, and maybe he's you know, being sarcastic about that as well. And so it's really kind of up to your individual interpretation on whether or not you think that Montresor, did he really get revenge, right? Did he get the revenge as he stated? So he defines revenge at the beginning of the story, takes revenge, and then is he successful? So that, you know, that's kind of just the argument structure that you could take for an essay. You know, yes, I do think he got revenge because of these facts, or no, I do not think he got revenge because of these facts as I see them played out in the story. And I think you can make a really sophisticated argument either way. Okay, so I'm going to record some more videos about the other stories, and if you have any questions, let me know. All right, bye.